What's up, guys? It's your Uncle Ed. Just sitting here having a little bit of coffee and just contemplating. As I think I've mentioned a few times, I talk with a lot of people every single month, and one of the things that is kind of somewhat of a disturbing trend that I'm seeing out there is people just being like deer caught in headlights. They're just frozen. They're not taking action. Why? I get it. There's a lot of things to fear out there right now. There's the economy, there's inflation, gas prices, even though they've come down quite a bit. We're still not at $60 a barrel, right? We're in the 80s right now, or I think maybe even the high 70s. I am a big believer in this too shall pass and also taking action when nobody else is taking action, because I think that when everybody else is frozen, it creates opportunities out there to do things in a contrarian kind of way. If you have studied the greatest investor ever, which is Warren Buffett, you'll realize that he is also a contrarian. It's called value investing, if you've ever heard of that term in the investing world. There's growth and then there's value. Growth is you invest in something that's already growing. Everybody jumps on that bandwagon because it's growing, right? Pretty easy. The difficult part is to stomach the emotion when things are not going well, and being a value investor, which means that you invest in things that are, for the most part, they're pretty solid. They're just going through a tough time, just like we all do. Companies go through tough times, even though they're solid, because of the economy, because of AI, whatever the case may be. But you still invest in them because you know that fundamentally they're great companies. Well, if you know that you are fundamentally a great investment, maybe you're going through tough times, or maybe you're overwhelmed emotionally, isn't it kind of commonsensical to invest in you? Of course, right? You are your biggest investment. And I will tell you something. Here at 58, almost going on 59 now, I can tell you unequivocally that most things that we fear never really come true. Or, at the very least, if they do come true, they don't come in as harsh or as tough as we think or as we once thought they were going to come in. All this to say that waiting and trying to time perfection is a fool's game. Nobody wins that. Nobody can time markets. And I learned that in the stock market. You cannot time. What you do is when you're ready, go. Just take action. And I know it's easier said than done. I get it. Surround yourself with great people who will support you when you take action and who won't judge you if things don't go perfectly. The other piece is hope is never a good plan. That is not a strategy. That is not a good plan. What you do is you believe in yourself. You believe that things will work out, and you know that you are resilient, because being resilient is a huge key to success. And I will say this. Failure is also a huge key to success. I don't know if you know this, that nobody escapes. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody goes through failures. But it's not the failure that makes or breaks you. It's whether you learned and grew from it or not. And if you did, then you're not going to repeat these, right? Or the chances of these failures repeating themselves get minimized. But as Uncle Ed, I will tell you that now is always the time if you can. Now, if you can't, then don't. But if you can financially, take action and invest. Remember that you are ultimately investing in yourself and in your family. Let's take 2008. Nobody was saying buy homes in 2008 because everybody was losing homes. But think about the people who did. In San Francisco, the median price of a home in 2008 was $645,000. Today it's $1.3 million. If you knew that buying a home at 645,000 in 2008, that if you kept it in 2026 it would be worth 1.3 million, would you do it? Well, of course you would, right? That is how we operate. So we all go through fear. That's a human thing, right? We all have our emotions, and we all go through fear. It's not the fear that makes or breaks us. It's how we deal with it. Remember, life is 99% of how you deal with the 1% of things that happen to you. So how are you going to react? Are you going to be resilient and power through? Remember those days that you don't feel like going to the gym, but you go anyway and you feel so good because you went? It's the same thing. Not very different. So Uncle Ed's message today is, if you can, then do. You won't regret it. You will look back and say, I'm so glad, as opposed to, I wish, could have, should have, would have, right? Just take action. Surround yourself with great people. And you'll see Uncle Ed will prove to you that that was the right decision. So invest in yourself, take action, and go get it. Because it's out there. And life is way too short to be dwelling on dumb things. Because the reality is that if you're watching this video on a cell phone, congratulations. You have first world problems. Because you know how many people, if you take the whole world, don't have a cell phone? You're kind of a little bit spoiled, let's be honest. So go take those fears and turn them into action and turn them into nuggets of success. Remember, how do you create diamonds? By pressure on what? Coal. So put pressure on your coal. Go make those diamonds. Have a great day.